السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معكم مهند الكلش في حلقة جديدة من سايبرإكس. طبعا في ظل التحول العالمي اللي صاير في التقنية وفي كل الانفجار التقني اللي صار حتى على مستوى الداتا اللي يسموه الداتا اكسبلوجن. تخيل اليوم قبل الجائحة، طبعا هذه الأرقام يتكلموا أنه في سنة 2022 راح توصل الداتا اللي راح تنتقل عبر الإنترنت حوالي 4.8 زيتا بايت. طبعا هذا الرقم الحين أنا متأكد أنه ارتفع ارتفاع كبير، لأنه ما طلعنا أي تقارير بعد الجائحة، الله يرفع عنا الغمة إن شاء الله. لكن أنا متأكد أنه هذه الأرقام راح تتضاعف بشكل كبير، لأن اليوم حياتنا كلها انتقلت من الحياة العادية إلى الحياة التقنية. نتكلم حنا على تحول رقمي، نتكلم على سايبر سيكيورتي، نتكلم حنا على اي او تي او انترنت الاشياء، نتكلم على كل الداتا اللي موجوده اللي هي الريل تايم ابلكيشنز، اللي هي واحده منها اللي حنا قاعدين نصور عليه. هذا ريل تايم يعتبر انه صوره، والصور تخزن بشكل كبير وتاخذ مساحه كبيره في مساحات التخزين. ففي نفس الوقت بما انه صار في ديسربتيف تكنولوجي على كل حياتنا، فاكيد في نفس الوقت ان الجريمه نفسها او فكره الجريمه انتقلت من العالم الواقعي الى العالم التقني، فصار في جرائم تقنيه اللي يسموها ديجيتال فورنزكس. وهذا موضوع الحلقه اليوم. وموضوع الحلقه اليوم احنا راح نتكلم عن 3 محاور اساسيه: ما هي الجريمه الالكترونيه؟ وما هي الاجراءات لفحص الجرائم الالكترونيه؟ وعندنا فقره واقع ام خيال، ان لو مسحت المعلومات اللي عندي في الجهاز هل ممكن احد يسترجعها او لا. وببدا بتعريف ضيوف الكرام. طبعا معنا الاستاذه اثير المقبل، باحثه في مدينه الملك عبد العزيز للعلوم والتقنيه، وباحث مساعد في جامعه جونز هوبكنز. ومعنا الاستاذ عبد الله الخفيلي، محاضر في جامعه الملك سعود. شرفتونا، وان شاء الله بتكون حلقه ان شاء الله قويه باذن الله عن الجرائم الالكترونيه. فودي ابدا بتعريف وش يعني جريمه الكترونيه. لو ممكن استاذ عبد الله تبدا توضح لنا وش يعني جريمه الكترونيه.
شاكرا ومقدرا لاستضافتكم. الله يعطيك العافيه استاذ مهند على موضوع الحلقه الجميل الصراحه. انا باخذكم برحله من ايام الاولدن تايمز، بحيث كان الديجيتال فورنزكس موجود لكن بشكل traditional ways، يعني بشكل not digital. So right now we have a social life whereas digital is something that we rely on. Digital technology is something we rely on. But before then, we didn't have any digital reliance. We didn't know about, or like it was just starting. So any crime, any kind of criminal activities would be conducted traditionally. So for an example, something that
من الجريمة العادية نفسها؟
يعني الجريمة العادية نعم تكون يعني مثلا something that's been happening since olden times. So with before then we had like some kind of team that would actually go into any crime scene and will look into any fingerprints, any evidence, any eyewitnesses that would identify the criminals, anything that would actually give some kind of an idea to the legal team of whom the criminals, of whom the people that have been targeted. So as I mentioned, blood, fingerprints, any physical altercations, and for even the ways that criminals were conducting their crime, they would have masks, they would have gloves, so that any traces they would have, they wouldn't be able to track them.
هذا اللي احنا نعرفه صح، هذا اللي نعرفه انه البصمه عينه الدم او عينه الدي ان اي. يمكن في وقت لاحق جت الفكره الدي ان اي، انه خلاص اذا انت لبست القفازات دي مع الماسك بالنسبه لك انه خلاص اثار الجريمه ما هي موجوده، او اثارك انت جوا الجريمه ما هي موجوده. هذا يمكن في العالم القديم صحيح، او في الوقت
هذا في الوقت اللي كان قديم. طبعا يعني بالشغله هذه بالاخير يعني كان عندك بروسيجر معينه تمشي عليها كفورنزك تيم تمشي الكرايم سين. طبعا انت احنا متعارف لنا في الافلام اذا شفت اليلو تيب، هذا معناه ان هذا المفروض ان احنا نحتفظ بهالاريا هذه وما يدخلها الا اشخاص معينين في هالاريا هذه. بحيث ما يكون في اي مثلا تقول اي تغيير في الافيدنس، اي تلف لاي افيدنس، يكون فيه احتفاظ للاريا الموجوده. فقط الفورنزيك تيم اللي المفروض يدخل conduct the whole process and has like a report at the end that can be handed to the proper team where they would actually identify all the possible
هذه اكيد عشان نوضح بس انه المكان اللي حصلت فيه الجريمه لازم الجهه المسؤوله سواء كانت الشرطه او غيرها تتاكد تماما ان ما حد يمس اي دليل او يلعب في اي شيء في المكان اللي حصلت فيه الجريمه هذه، على اساس انه لا يصير فيه اي خلل او تلف او تغيير على مستوى الادله. طيب في العالم الجديد او في العالم التقني، لو استاذه اثير تقدر توضحي لنا وش اللي صار، وش التغيير اللي صار، كيف عمليه الديجيتال فورنزيك او الجرائم الالكترونيه تطورت مع هذا التطور اللي حاصلين احنا عليه؟
أكيد. أولاً حابة أشكرك على الاستضافة أستاذ مهند. And to continue on where my colleague Abdullah left off, today it is impossible. It's impossible for anyone in the world to commit a crime without leaving any trace of evidence on any digital device. Because everyone today has a phone on them, or at least two phones if you want to separate your work phone from your personal phone. We have smart watches, we have smart appliances at home, such as a smart fridge, you have your smart TV, you have your laptop, USBs. So anything you do today is logged, and you're creating a record and you're tracking yourself.
It's home traceability, يعني?
Exactly. So it makes our life easier for us as customers, and also makes the investigation somewhat easier for investigators, because now you can find evidence for anything. Did they send this email? Where were they? So now if you take a picture, you send an email, you send out a tweet, you're calling someone, you're using a navigation software, we know everything about what you did that day, who you were with, who you were talking to, where did you go, was it on purpose, did you do this thing by accident? Now digital forensics is where you start. So in a crime scene investigation before, it was something based on you did it to support evidence you already knew, or you already knew what happened. Now it's where the investigation starts, because it's the easiest way to close a case these days. Yeah, and if we want to mention some cases, there are some cases where the digital investigation or forensics investigation helped solve an entire case. For example, with Apple, they had a lot of problems with insider threats where employees, once they left, they wanted to use information in secret projects and give it out to other employees or other companies in different countries. And this happened with one of the secret projects called Project Titan. And this project was for a self-driving car. And they found out when the employees wanted to leave, they were resigning, they took back their work phones and their work laptop. They found evidence, lots of pictures, manuals, diagrams that was stolen from confidential databases. And this helped them prove that this employee was trying to leave the country. They want to sell our secret information, and they were able to charge them just based on this.
ممتاز جدا. طبعا حادثة أبل يعني سوت ضجة كبيرة طبعا على مستوى العالمي. طيب لو بتكلم عن وش الإجراءات لفحص الجريمة الإلكترونية؟ How do you examine the digital forensic?
Okay, so thank you. So at the beginning, what happens is once there's a crime scene, there's one of two scenarios. Either you go into the crime scene knowing what happened and you're just looking for evidence to support your theory, or you go into the crime scene not knowing what happened, not even knowing if there was a crime that had been committed. So once you go in, you look for everything. You look for anything that has a memory, anything that can hold data as a digital forensics investigator. So you're looking for laptops, cell phones, USB devices, and from different cases, we hear people hiding USB devices or memories in soap or somewhere like within flour or something. So you have to make sure that you do a thorough investigation and get anything that may be of interest where you think that this crime could have been committed. So once you get it, what you have to do is, just to make sure that the device doesn't lose any data, you have to make sure you properly handle the device. Because if you misuse or mishandle a device, even if it has all the evidence that you want, it will not have any value in court and they will throw it out. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you handle it properly. So if it's a phone, you make sure you connect a power bank to it so that it doesn't turn off, because it could stay in the truck or at the storage at the lab for days, and it can turn off and lose any information on it. Second, you have to put it in something called a Faraday bag. A Faraday bag is a bag that blocks any signals from coming in or leaving the device. So you want to make sure that nobody can alter the evidence on the device. So let's say if you have a tracking fitness smartwatch or anything that tracks data as you walk. So you want to make sure that while you're walking, it's not counting steps. So you put it in the Faraday bag to block it from counting steps, from doing anything to alter the data, because this can also have it thrown out in court. After that, there's something called the chain of custody. So the chain of custody is a log of the time where the device itself was seized and who has the device, who took it out, who returned it. And this is something that has to be presented in court to show that the device was not left for minutes or hours without anyone knowing where it is, to show that it's, to ensure the integrity of the device and make sure that nothing was mishandled. Now finally,
نفس الفكرة بالكرايم سين، إنه يبغى يتأكد إنه ما في أحد لعب في سواء الجهاز أو الكرايم نفسه أو غير مثلاً في الهاش فايلز أو سوى أي تغييرات، على أساس إنه لا تأثر وتكون برضو مصدق فيها في المحكمة.
Exactly. So the most important thing is once you seize the device, you have to take care of it. And like you mentioned, one of the things when you first take it back to the lab is you have to get the hash, calculate the hash of the device or the data that you have. So a hash is a unique signature that proves that if you change something within the hash, even just one bit, it will change the complete hash. So if any data bit that is changed, changes the complete hash, and later on it shows that, no, this was changed, the data in it or the evidence in it cannot be used in court. So once you get to the lab, you would calculate the hash and you make copies of the device that you got. Because as forensic investigators, you try your best not to actually analyze the actual original memory. So you make copies of the memory, calculate their hashes, so you can show in court that, look, they have the same hashes, this means it has the same data. And I can hand it off to my colleague Abdullah with what exactly is done with the device itself.
Thank you, Athir. So as just Athir explained very well, you get the evidence, you take a hash, or like you take the hash function, the hash value, just to make sure that everything is in order, and that anything that you would do to the evidence, it's not going to change the content of it, and it can be presented to the court in the end. The whole thing should be like another thing that different from the like the traditional ways is that you have to make sure that you actually have a log of all the activities or all the things that you did with the evidence. So at the end, there are sometimes a problem that could happen where someone would just say that I don't trust this investigator, we should have someone else. So if someone else come and some other investigators come and take the evidence and follow your log, they should have the same results as you did. So that's one of the differences that digital forensics have other than the traditional one.
هل هذه تسمى audit trail ولا؟
I think so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the audit trail.
Okay.
So yeah, like
التسلسل كيف صار؟ تسلسل الأحداث بالنسبة للدليل.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the tesselsel comes from like what kind of files that you went through, what kind of files you chose that's interesting, what kind of emails that you went through and viewed and actually logged it as interesting. Yeah, because like as an investigator, you shouldn't have any bias. So anything that you look into and you think, oh, this file is interesting and it can lead to something, or like the legal team can look into it and say, okay, this is a proof of this not being committed. So having this as a trail can give another idea of the whole process. So the process is long, so it could take a long time to go through the whole evidence based on the evidence itself. So the investigator would go look into the media files, look into emails. If it's an operating system, looks into the registers of the like Windows registers, where you could get any information about the device itself. So some interesting examples could be like the criminal itself. He or she changed the time zone of the operating system, and from the registers you can actually prove that the time zone doesn't align with the actual time zone of the criminal. And like through that you could get in the end a full report of all the findings.
هذا يمكن المثال ينطبق كثير على الاشياء اللي هي تسمى الويربلز اللي انت تلبسها زي الساعه الديجيتال او يعني الساعات اللي مشهوره في الماركت يعني. الحين وصلنا للمحور الأخير اللي احنا نسميه واقع أم خيال أو fact or fiction. فواقع أم خيال، الحين ببدأ معك أستاذ عبد الله، إنه لو مسحت المعلومات اللي على جهازي ما حد يقدر يرجعها. في الحركات هذه تعرف اللي شفت ديليت وخلاص أنا كذا راحت عليهم.
That's actually a misconception. So what actually happens, when you shift delete, is what you actually do is just let the operating system know that this space shouldn't be, like, we don't want to protect it anymore. So any file you download, any file you create, the operating system makes sure that nothing overwrites this space. So if you delete it, you just mark it for like, okay, overwrite this space whenever you want. So if the operating system, or based on the operating system memory management, this space could be deleted as soon as possible. Like anything you like, even if you go through your system files, it could change or could override some of the file or some of the space, or it could take a long time. So sometimes you have some kind of technologies on the internet where you have something called zeroing, where it will go through the whole hard disk and just zeros all the space that's marked for deletion, which is really interesting.
Wow. طيب.
Yeah.
Fact or fiction, واقع أم خيال؟ المعلومات اللي على جهازي إذا مسحتها ما حد يقدر يرجعها. أستاذ أثير.
I don't think there's a bigger fiction than this statement right here. Just like my colleague Abdullah mentioned, it's in my opinion, it's nearly impossible to say that you have permanently deleted something because it's still in memory. And unless you, like if you have a storage of, let's say, 52 gigabits, unless you have restored everything or made a lot of data that takes up 52 gigabits, can you say, okay, I think now it's deleted. But other than that, I think it's the biggest fiction out there.
Okay. طيب يعني لو ابغى يكون عندي بعض المصادر او بعض المراجع اللي انا ابغى ارجع لها، ابغى اتعمق اكثر في الديجيتال فورنسيك، وش تنصحينا نقرا؟
First of all, it's not like in project management, if you take the PMP exam, then that's it, you're certified. Digital forensics, there is not a single certification for it. Basically, it's based on your expertise, your experience with dealing with different devices, your own self-knowledge, and your work on different devices and different areas within the computer. So it's something you build upon yourself. There are some certificates or exams that can help you, and one of them is a book that we have, and most of us have either read through or used to get the one of the certifications for cyber forensics, which is the Certified Cyber Forensics book that I have here. And there is a certification you could take for it, but this doesn't mean that you are a qualified digital forensics person. So I think everything you should do is, you know, everything's available online now. You could watch YouTube videos, there's online courses. It's basically based on your effort. Grab a device, try to analyze it, try to find deleted things in it, try to create your own crime scenario. And it's fun, first of all, it's very challenging, and it builds your skills.
عشان بس الناس لا تتحمس وتسويها على كل شيء. لو حبيت انك انت تسويها في البيت، تاكد انك انت قاعد تسويها في لاب، في اجهزه ما هي احنا نسميها البرودكشن، او ما هي لايف، او حتى جهازك الشخصي، عشان لا سمح الله بكره تجيب العيد في جهازك تصير في مشكله. لانك اذا مسحت كل معلوماتك بالديجيتال فورنزيك تولز او الجرائم الالكترونيه، الادوات حقتها، خلاص انت كذا مسحت الجهاز تماما. فتاكد انك انت قاعد تجيب جهاز ثاني، او تاكد انها انفايرمنت او بيئه مختلفه عن البيئه اللي انت تشتغل عليها، عشان لا تصير عندك مشكله. يعني في نهايه لقائنا صراحه انا ودي الخص الشيء اللي تكلمنا فيه. تكلمنا ما هي الجريمه الالكترونيه، وعرفناها وعرفوها استاذ اثير واستاذ عبد الله بشكل جدا مستفيض. تكلمنا عن الاجراءات لفحص الجريمه الالكترونيه، وفي نفس الوقت كان في اتفاق ما بين استاذ عبد الله واستاذ اثير انه لو مسحت المعلومات اللي على جهازي انه باقي اقدر ارجعها. فالاثنين اتفقوا انه خيال، والمسكونسبشن اللي كان موجود هذا الحين احنا وضحناه. طبعا في عندنا المراجع والريفرنسز راح تلقونها في الريفرنسز تحت. ودنا تشاركونا المحتوى ونشر يعني التوعية في الأمن السيبراني باللغة العربية، وسووا شير، سبسكرايب، وفعلوا زر التنبيهات. وفي النهاية ودي أشكركم أستاذ أثير وأستاذ عبد الله على هذا اللقاء الجميل، والله يعطيكم ألف عافية.
الله يعافيك, thank you for creating a platform such as this to raise awareness. شكرا لك.
شكرا جزيلا.
الله يعافيك، بالعكس واجبنا، والله يعطيكم الألف عافية، ونشوفكم في الحلقة القادمة. السلام عليكم.